and within a very short amount of time started to receive a number of ambulances from the emergency medical services system. We received in total about 26 total patients, 10 of which were transported by ambulance. During that time, in a very short amount of time, we had nearly 20 additional physicians and more than 20 additional nursing and support staff here in our emergency department, as well as in other areas of the hospital, to help take care of the patients that were brought in. And all of those individuals came as a result of following our protocols. We also put in a extra safety or security protocol where we locked down the hospital. Hence why we're meeting out here in the parking lot as we continue to try to maintain a very safe environment in our hospital for our patients and our staff. So of the 26 individuals that showed up here at Highland Park Hospital, 25 of those did sustain gunshot wound injuries. Some of them were minor, some of them were much more severe, and some of those patients were in critical condition when they did arrive here to the hospital.
Any commonality between the gunshot injuries? Were they all different parts of the body?
They were all different parts of the body, extremities as well as other more central parts of the body as well.
Do you have any specific number on what conditions those 25 were in?
Yeah, so of the 25 who came in with gunshot wounds, 19 of those individuals were able to be treated and actually discharged home after they had had their full medical evaluation and treatment. Several others did arrive in more serious conditions and did have to be admitted. We had one that had to be transferred over to Evanston Hospital under the care of our great neurosurgical team. We had a couple of other patients that need to be admitted to either our trauma surgical team, which are represented here, as well as to some of our orthopedic trauma surgeons.
Doctor, could you give us an age range of people treated?
Absolutely. So the age range ranged from about 8 years old was our youngest patient, up to 85 years old.
How many children?
I can't give you a specific number on the number of children, but it was definitely around 4 or 5.
What happens in an emergency room when you get that many gunshot victims coming in at once?
Well, we immediately have to make space for all these patients to come in, and hence why I commented before how we use some internal processes to mobilize resources. Our wonderful surgical and trauma staff were immediately alerted through emergency messaging that we had a number of patients that were going to need emergency medical services and their evaluation. On top of that, many other emergency physicians, pediatricians, internists, surgeons, trauma surgeons, anesthesiologists, and others were also notified and mobilized to help take care of the number of patients that were coming in.
Your staff looks, of course, shaken up. What is this like? Have to deal with such a massive.
Well, I think, listen, there's been a lot of different events that have happened in the United States, and this obviously now has hit very close to home. It is a little surreal to have to take care of an event such as this, but all of us have gone through extensive training. We go through a number of different programs, training. We practice for these events, even though we hope they never happen. And so I think our team very admirably handled the situation today. Of course, we provide services that include social work, and we have others involved that our team, as well as our patients, will have a chance to talk to therapists and counselors to debrief after something that is so traumatic.
And if anyone has a loved one in the hospital, anything they need to know, or if families all been notified?
So families have all had the opportunity to actually come into the hospital and wait. We had liaisons working with those family members, and all of those family members have been reunited with the patients that were here and treated at our North Shore hospitals.
Anybody from the nursing staff that perhaps might want to talk?
Does anybody from the nursing staff want to talk? Come on up. So this is Barb Croak. She's one of our emergency medicine nurses. She also does a number of administrative roles here at North Shore and has a wealth of experience.
Good afternoon.
Tell us what it was like for the nurses.
So we have an amazing team of nurses who every day give 1,000% of their time and talent to their profession. They all immediately go into emergency mode, and they're all They are trained in trauma and pediatric care as well. They have extensive training. They're amazing people. They showed their proof in COVID, and now with this absolutely upsetting and tragic mass shooting, they came to the call to duty. They were fantastic. Multiple nurses taking care of one patient at a time because there's family members. Emotional support is needed. Advanced trauma care, advanced emergency care, EMS personnel. So amazing squad of nurses. Very proud of them. I'm very, very thrilled to call them my colleagues.
Yes.
You said 26 patients were taken here, 25 were in Japanese, and then 19 were discharged, but one person was still in.
Yeah, so actually we had two patients that were transferred to Evanston, one of them to get further neurosurgical care. One of them was also a pediatric patient, and so our inpatient pediatric unit is over at Evanston Hospital. We had another patient who was transferred over to Skokie Hospital, which is our orthopedic specialty hospital, and another patient who was transferred down to Comer Children's Hospital after getting some emergency surgery. I would also like to add that our nursing staff were phenomenal, but the gentlemen that stand behind me here and ladies that stand behind me provided amazing emergency surgical and orthopedic care. With me is Dr. Talamonte and Dr. Andy Agos, who helps run our trauma surgery program, and the response that they made, the time in which they arrived to help support and take care of these patients was absolutely phenomenal.
Dr. Talamonte, could we speak to you for just a
Sure.
minute? You were off-site when the initial call came in.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what happened.
I got a text message that there had been a mass shooting in Highland Park, and could I call Highland Park Hospital, which I did, and talked to the chief of surgery there, John Lynn, who was actually out of town but got the first call. And when I heard that there was a mass shooting, I made sure that we had our full trauma team mobilized. They already were here. All the trauma surgeons came in, even the ones that weren't on call this weekend. So they had already come to Highland Park. And as Dr. Temple said, some of those patients were stabilized and transferred to Evanston. There was one patient who underwent exploratory surgery at Evanston for a gunshot wound, and that patient was being operated on by the trauma surgeons there. And then there was a child who was shot and injured here that was too unstable to transfer. So the trauma surgeons and the anesthesiologists and the nurses, all of whom did an extraordinary job, really nothing short of heroic. They stabilized that patient, repaired the injuries that needed to be repaired, and that child is now en route to the University of Chicago by helicopter to the Children's Hospital at the University of Chicago. So two patients that have been operated on thus far. There are other patients with soft tissue injuries and orthopedic injuries that will require some surgery, but not in terms of loss of life or limb. Those patients have been taken care of and are stabilized, and one's transferred, one's down at Evanston.
May I just ask, how many patients are still currently here?
I'm sorry?
How many patients are still currently being treated here?
So actually currently there are only 2 patients who are still here that are admitted to the hospital for further care and treatment. All other patients have been discharged at this point or transferred to other facilities. Yeah. 2.
What are their conditions?
They're stable.
Dr. Talamonte, as a doctor, I mean, you're a person concerned with treating the patient. What do you think about when you go through something like this? You see your colleagues
Yeah.
have to go through something like this.
It's a tough question to answer. Obviously, there's a lot of emotions, but these trauma surgeons, I mean, their reflexes are extraordinary. They know exactly what to do. The nurses are crackerjack nurses. So you stand in awe at their competency and their professionalism, but it breaks your heart to see people, innocents, essentially wounded. And then you see the heroic effort to save their lives, and it's a tough day, but a good day. We took care of sick people. Our doctors, our nurses did a great job.
Any stories you can think of about something a patient may have said to you while you were treating them or advising them?
I was really up in the operating room most of the time. The young doctors, the emergency room doctors, I think they encountered the blunt of the emotions and the families. And again, credit to them. Credit to them.
Doctor, how do you train for an event like this, an event that often doesn't come?
Yeah, that's a great question. You train. You have the reflexes. You have the system of care. Remember, one doctor can only take care of one patient at a time. But when you see these kind of mass casualties, the system has to respond, and those reflexes have to be exercised. They have to be tested, and the system responded appropriately. The blood bank, the emergency room, the radiology department, the anesthesiology department, everybody came to either Highland Park or Evanston. So we had a sufficient number of doctors, nurses, anesthesiologists, blood bank people to take care of these patients, but the system has to have those quick reflexes, and you have to practice that, and you have to prepare for that. That doesn't happen by accident.
Thank you.
Any last questions?
Please go over the numbers one last time.
Yeah, so Highland Park Hospital had a total of 26 patients that arrived either by ambulance or by private vehicle. 6 patients were taken to Evanston Hospital, and 4 patients were taken to Glenbrook Hospital. There were also additional patients that were taken to other hospitals that are not part of the North Shore system, particularly Lake Forest Hospital.
We have 2 patients here in stable condition.
We have 2 patients that are currently admitted in stable condition, correct?
And you said of the pediatrics, one was taken to Evanston and another to Homer?
Correct. So one pediatric patient was transferred over to be admitted at Evanston Hospital, and the other one was taken via helicopter down to the University of Chicago Comer Hospital.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Good.
Yep.
Could you get your name again, Doctor? I'll take the news. Rick Temple.
Yes. His name is Mark Talamonti.
Talamonti.
Yeah. Talamonti.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Good. Yes. Yep. Go on.
Hey, thank you. Got me a number. Yeah, absolutely.
Might know one of my questions. Choked up. Oh, I know. You know Dr. Yes.